Hello, this is Pat from Pine Lake Parts in Plainwell, Michigan. If you have any questions about this, you can give me a call, 269-716-3156. I'm doing this for a customer. It's going to be a quick video, not actually doing the work, just showing how it's done. So they can install a motor on their boat that they've never installed before. They have to take off a 120 Johnson from the 90s, and they're putting on a 2001 Johnson. So the controls aren't the same, and that changes a few things with this process, but I'm going to walk you through the steps. The first thing to do is to attach a cherry picker or a crane to the lift eye on the motor, right up here. Pull it up until you take up the slack, so that, you know, right when it's trying to lift the boat a little bit is when you stop. So you've got the weight off the motor. Then disconnect the battery cable at the motor or the battery. If you're going to reuse the battery cables on the next motor, then disconnect the negative at the battery before disconnecting on the motor. Then you can leave the battery cables in place and just attach them at the motor. You don't have to reroute them that way. There's different ways you can approach all these steps, but I start with the steering. You've got your drag link right here. That's going to be hooked to the steering arm coming out to right here. So you're going to take that hardware off and set it aside, because you'll use it putting the next motor on. And then you come down on this end and it'll have the steering cable bolted on right here. You'll loosen that bolt up, remove it, and slide it out. Then pull the cable out as far as it comes comfortably. You don't want to bend it or anything like that. It probably won't pull all the way out. You'll go the rest of the way when you take the motor off. So when you're lifting the motor away is when you'll pull the steering cable the rest of the way out. And when you're installing the next motor, you'll feed that steering cable in before you bring the motor up to the boat. It keeps you from kinking it or bending or anything like that. Next thing we're going to do is throttle and shift cables. They're over here. The throttle is on top, up here. Shift is down here. What I would do before disconnecting is I'd put a little zip tie on the cable so that you know which one's throttle. If you don't put the zip tie on, you can always raise your warm-up lever up and down when you're reinstalling, and that'll show the throttle will move when you're moving that warm-up lever, and the shift won't, so you know which one's throttle. Then disconnect the fuel and oil lines and move them away from the motor. So on this one, there's where our fuel and oil lines hook up. Fuel's already disconnected, oil needs to be. Disconnect the red plug at the engine. You're going to have a plug that looks something like that. This motor doesn't have it. This uses the Deutsch connections, which started in 1996, I believe, and they are right there. Now the next one is motor mounting bolts. Usually there's 4 like that. It should be 3/4 on each side is typical. You want to make sure you have washers and nylock nuts there. Again, you're going to save those bolts for the next motor. I use a impact over here and a wrench over here and run those out. When you get to that last one, be careful, because when you disconnect that one, the motor can swing if you're not directly above your pick point. So just be aware that the motor may move when you take that last one out. So then you'll set the motor down that you just took off the boat, and you'll pick up the replacement motor. The mounting pattern should match between these ones anyway. I would suggest marine life caulk on these bolts before reinstalling to protect your transom. You know, this is going on a pontoon, so you're really not worried about water leaking through those, but you really don't want the water getting up into the wood that's sandwiched in between the aluminum on your transom. So as you're putting it on, you're going to slide that steering cable back in place. Then you're going to coat your bolts with the life caulk is what I recommend, and install the bolts. On this boat, you need the adapter harness, which is going to take you from the red plug to the Deutsch plugs. And those are readily available out there, but I'm including one with this sale. Next, you're going to plug that harness in to the 3 plugs in the back that you can see right there. And I may do that before I ship the motor out to you, so you're just plugging in the red plug. Then connect your throttle and shift cables. Remember, the zip tie is on the throttle and that goes up top. You take out that one screw right there, and then you can pull those cables out, slide them onto these posts, and then put the washer and nut on. Then you're going to go back to the steering and install your drag link. For this, you'll feed your steering cable the rest of the way through, tighten down the nut on this side, and then slide it in through that hole and put the nut and washer on there. Typically, you've got a washer and then the steering cable, and then another washer and the nut. Now we're ready to hook up gas. Do not run old gas into the motor. Today's gas has very low shelf life. So you want to make sure that if the gas is over 2 months old, say, completely drain the tank. Make sure you purge out the line and fill with fresh, straight gas. Excuse me. The recreational fuel is the ideal fuel to get. If you can't get or don't want to use recreational fuel, then don't buy higher octane regular gas from the gas station. Buy the normal 87, 88 octane, because they often boost the octane with ethanol, and you want to minimize the amount of ethanol. You'll have this little cap to put back on after the cables are ran through, and tighten that down. Let me see. Plug in oil and fuel and prime both bulbs. So there's the fuel line plugged in. You'll hook up the oil or the gas line there, prime both bulbs up until they're firm. Raise the warm-up lever on the motor or the controls. I might be jumping ahead here. Yeah, I'm going to starting. And before you do that, you want to verify that shifting is proper. So to do that, warm-up lever down. We're in neutral right now, and the prop spins free. Now I'm going to go to forward, and the prop is just barely locked in. So I'm not in forward very good. So I'm going to go up to the top here, and I'm going to adjust my cable. There's the cable connection, and I needed to pull it further into forward gear like that. And so I'm going to turn this adjustment knob here, basically pulling it more forward so that it engages better. And now it's in solid. It won't go past. So you'll tighten that nut back down, and we'll go back to neutral. And I'm in neutral, and now we'll go reverse. And I'm in reverse. Back to neutral, and I'm in neutral. So the shifting's all working proper now. Now we're up to the point where we're going to be ready to start the motor. You want to put muffs on the motor or submerge it in the lake. You never want to start it without water, and not even for a second. It will destroy your impeller, and you'll need to put a new one in. There's already a new one in this motor, so we're in good shape there. So we're going to go through starting. So you want to raise the warm-up lever. Every motor has a combination. I'm thinking this one's probably about there. Motor's in neutral, warm-up lever is raised. You turn the key. Oh, got to have the safety lanyard on it too, which clips over here. And I'll have to find that and put it on there. But clip the safety lanyard on. Turn the key to where it's cranking the engine for 2 to 3 seconds. If the engine hasn't fired or isn't doing anything, then push in on the key while you're turning. That will activate the choke, and the engine should fire. Once it fires up, bring the warm-up lever down so the motor is idling. And then if it starts to stall, it's losing too many RPMs, push in on the key again for a second, let off. Give it an extra burst of gas while it's warming up. Once it's been running for, probably 10 seconds or so, you shouldn't need to touch that choke button anymore. Let it warm up for a minute, and it should be ready to go. You'll hear a chirp when the engine starts. That will be from this gauge here, which is your system check gauge from BRP. Tells you low oil, check engine, water temperature, and no oil. This can put the engine into a limp mode If it's like reading low or no oil, it may put you into limp where the boat won't go fast. If you've got an overheat, you definitely want to shut down and let the engine cool so you don't cause engine damage. I think that's about it. You should be ready to run. Oh, once you start the motor, you're going to want to adjust the idling. Just like I adjusted the shifting, you'll put warm-up lever down, engine's warm, you're in neutral. Go through and see how it's idling. Adjust the idle down as slow as you can go where the engine still runs smooth. That's the best for your gear cases, the lowest the idle can be. Make sure it doesn't stall when you go into gear at that level that you end up at. And it may change slightly when you put it in the lake. If you're running on muffs and then you get back pressure from the lake, it'll probably idle lower. And so you may have to turn it up slightly down at the lake. After that, you should be good to go. The oil that you put in the oil tank is, you want a good low ash oil that is TCW3 compliant. And that will go in this oil tank, which is monitored by that system check gauge. So if you have low oil, it'll give you a beeping alarm. Any questions, give me a call, 269-716-3156. Hopefully I've covered everything for this conversion. And thank you.